Welcome back, fellow veterans. My name is Clinton Lee, retired Army Career Counselor, and I'm back here again with Veterans Focus on the Veterans Transition. And it's been a minute since I've been here because I was traveling a lot this week. Matter of fact, the next few months I'll be in a lot of different places, got a lot of different things scheduled for travel, but I just want to make sure I can come back and touch bases with you so that we can have a conversation. And like I said, I really want fellow veterans and those who are thinking about transition to join us on the platform to think about liking, sharing, subscribing to this platform so that we can become a resource for all veterans across every service. So I look forward to that. So I'm going to share my screen with you because there's something I want to talk to you about today. It's going to be a short one. It won't be long, but it's just something that I came across as I was in my travels, and something I came across that made sense to me, and I wanted to share it. The way it clicked in my head, I wanted to share it with other veterans. So let me go ahead and pull that up right quick. So first of all, I'm gonna share my screen here. It's right here. It's called this is the Veterans Focus on the Veteran Transition, and now I want to talk to you today about a major issue that veterans as well as employers face when they're bringing on veterans, because employers face this because veterans, like I said, we have been trained in the way of whatever service we were part of, whether we were Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard. We were trained with the verbiage of that service, and we were trained in a manner of making sure that we can fight and win in a global environment. But that doesn't always transition well back to the civilian sector. And so as we're looking at this, one of the things that I want to talk about today is institutionalized. I heard that, and it brought me back to a movie I watched. Matter of fact, I watched this movie multiple times, but it brought me back to this to a point in the movie that talks about being institutionalized, which I believe every veteran, no matter if you spend 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, and if you retired, even worse. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just the fact that you have grown up inside of an institution, and that can be considered becoming institutionalized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me stop this right quick, and I'm going to share, because I have another screen I want to share. Let me go back here and here, start sharing this one. And I'm going to share this screen here, which is going to talk about this. And many of you have seen this before, and it's going to make I believe, a profound impact on you to hear it again from one of our actors in the movie industry. So let me go ahead and see if I can get that shared. Share screen. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and play the clip.
Ratting King Shithouse is one. Oh, hey, well, that's enough out of you. I already had you sitting in the pants. Fuck you. Would you knock it off?
Please forget the language.
Like no bug. Just institutionalized. Institutionalized my ass. The man's been in here 50 years, Hayward. 50 years. This is all he knows. In here, he's an important man. He's an educated man. Outside, he's nothing. Just a used up car and about riders in both hands. Probably couldn't get a library card if he tried. You know what I'm trying to say?
Fred, I do believe you're talking out of your ass.
You believe whatever you want, Floyd. But I'm telling you, these walls are funny. First you hate them, then you get used to them. Enough time passes, get so you depend on them. That's institutionalized. Shit, you can never get like that.
I'll tell you right there. I wanted to share that portion of that video because the realization is that most veterans who have spent time in the service has had to deal with the fact is that they truly have become institutionalized. And you may not believe it, but the reality is we all were. I mean, like I said, I said in one of my videos, we were taught all the jargon of the service that we were a part of. We were taught how to lead and how to be responsible for millions of dollars of equipment. We were taught so many different things that we became institutionalized, and we became, if depending on how long you stayed in the service, you grew in rank and you grew in responsibility. So you became someone else of importance in the service, whether you were an officer or enlisted. The higher the longer you stayed, usually the more you went up in rank and the more responsibility you have. So you were important in the service. And so when you leave the service, like I said before, everybody saying thank you for your service, may not understand that as you leave the service, as you take the uniform off, and you go back to civilian clothes, you no longer have that level of importance anymore because you have been institutionalized. And that's not a bad thing. It's because you need that to be institutionalized inside of the service in order to perform the duties of protecting the nation. But when you leave the service, is who are you when you leave the service? As we to say, who are you when you have to grow up? And so a lot of time the transition, you're faced with the fact that you have been institutionalized. You have been an important person. You have been responsible for people and equipment, and you have been responsible for a mission. And how do you then translate that from the military service to the civilian sector? And that's what a lot of veterans face, and a lot of employers. They face the fact is, how did this person come to my organization and benefit us? Because they're coming from a controlled environment, an institution that has rules and regulations and has a methodology that may be different than what we have here in the civilian sector. So it is our responsibility as veterans who are exiting the service, no matter how much time you spent, well, like I said, it's 4, 5, 8, 10, 12, or 20 plus years, it becomes our responsibility to reintegrate into the civilian society. And I spoke before about how that we have to learn how to civilianize our experience so that the civilian counterpart who's looking at our resume, looking at our background, can understand how that background will fit into the organization. There used to be an old saying, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And what that means is that if you can't show how you would benefit and profit the organization, them hiring you doesn't make sense, even if they're grateful for your service. So you have to be able to transition and overcome the stigmatism that you are institutionalized to one way of thinking. And so a lot of times that requires us to begin to network earlier with a lot of our civilian counterparts. And that's difficult because we're so used to our fellow service members, but having to talk with and be around and join organizations that is not connected to the service. One of the things I did and I enjoyed doing when I retired and got out of the service is I started doing a little off-roading, where we, go overlanding, do some rock crawling. And so I did that. I joined a group. This is one of the group concepts of overlanding. And so I did that, and that put me around people who were not connected to the service, even though a few of them had been in the service, but most of them were civilians. And you meet a whole new group of people, and you begin to network with people who are not connected to you from the service. Because if you do that, that's a way of overcoming the institutionalized way of thinking. Another thing is you have to be able to speak civilian. You have to talk civilian speak, and that may sound very simple, but if you spend a lot of time in a service, you've learned a lot of the service jargon, and it may sound strange, but you have to learn how to translate that. You need a translation because English becomes a second language, in another way of saying that, because you have to translate the jargon you're used to talking and speaking and the respect that you gain in the service to a civilianized population. And I think the last data showed that less than 2% of the American population has actually served in the military. So you're fighting an uphill battle, because we had the Great Generation coming out of World War II, where majority had served, and then you went to Vietnam, where the people were treated very disrespectfully for serving, and even though it wasn't their fault. Everyone in the military, they served under civilian control, meaning politicians make rules and we have to follow the rules. And so they were treated unfairly. And so a lot of people, the service was not an option. They saw the way they were treated. But for those who begin to serve voluntarily after the draft, that number began to dwindle from 45% after World War II to around 10%, and now we're around 2% of the population that actually served, and that's becoming a problem for the nation's strength. But that's not your problem, because you served and now you are looking to transition. And so as you're transitioning, you're having to learn how to refit back into a society that you left for a few years. Even if you were stationed stateside, you actually weren't in that society. And so you have to learn how to refit yourself back into a society that has continued to move forward as you were focused on protecting the nation. And so, like I said, my goal for this platform is for other veterans and to share how they accomplish this. How did they move through the process? And I want to hear your story, so you can tell me, how did you move through the process? And so I'm asking that you would like, share, comment. Please comment. Let us know what you think, what you like, didn't like, and what we can do better, because we want to be a resource for veterans. And so because of that, I need your participation. If you want to contact us, this is a way of contacting the Veterans Focus on Veterans Transition. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to interview some of you that would love to be interviewed, and so that we can share your story and hopefully be a help to others who are transitioning. And like I said, the one thing we have to overcome is the feeling of being institutionalized. And the one thing we have to overcome with employers is showing them that we can be a resource and be a benefit to their organization, and not just from where we come, knowing that from where we come from, we may have had a different level of authority, we may have a different level of understanding, and we may have been responsible for millions of dollars equipment, and where this new organization that you're applying for may only want you to be responsible for $10 worth of equipment. And that's just facetious, but just saying, so it may seem strange to you, but it's just something that we have to overcome as veterans. So once again, veterans, I thank you for your ear. I thank you for your time. Like I said, I really want us to become a platform that's a resource. So if you're willing to participate in that, please like, share, comment, and join us in this battle to transition from the military mindset into a civilian mindset. As you all know, I'm retired Army, the #1 service. And if you feel like your service was better, let me know. But I believe the Army #1 service. Matter of fact, in the Constitution, Article 2, there's only 2 services mentioned. That's the Army and that that want to be on the water. Saying, no, I'm joking, the Navy. But so let us know what you think, and talk to us how you overcame being institutionalized. Look forward to hearing from you. And it's been a pleasure always talking to my fellow veterans and my DD 214 alumni. All right. Thank you and have a great day.